Hey. Okay. I don't really have a lot to say today, so if I babble a long time, don't stay tuned in all that long. But I never just realized it had been such a long time since I made a video, and that is primarily because there's not been any worthy updates to give. I have been just going back and forth on all the same things. A lot of the time I don't feel well. A lot of the times I am symptomatic. Can't afford to eat very much beef anymore with the way our economy is and the way the beef prices are. After all of the wrong of COVID reaction and then 4 years of hyperinflation, and not just the hyperinflation, there were tremendous numbers of things and very complex things that have been done to destroy our economy. Now we've had some improvement. We have some things that are being decided better, a few of them, and it has helped some. I can see how things are beginning to turn around, but things like that can be slow sometimes. You still have the effects of the horrible things that had been happening. So I'm still struggling tremendously with my budget. We're surviving, even when things are terrible in a way, and they are terrible enough to be worth quite a bit for hyperbole, to be honest. They're still good in life, so I'm okay. I can live with it. I can do this for now, but it's hard. Because it is as hard as it is, the stresses of the budget and the stresses of my health things that are not being helped enough, maybe there are real answers for them, maybe there's not. But right now, the things that I know are the best things for me to pursue are things that are outside of the budget. So I'm praying for a big turnaround. I'm praying for our God to move us out of the trailer we live in. All of these are things I've probably all said to you before, but like I said, it has been such a long time since I made a video. One of the things I'm going back and forth on is the dairy thing. Dairy's bad, dairy's good, dairy's bad, dairy's good, dairy's bad, but I need it for this reason. When I do not have dairy in my diet, I am having certain symptoms that putting the dairy in helps. And when I do have dairy in the diet, I'm having certain symptoms that I don't want that the dairy's causing. So it's kind of a rock and hard place issue. But I already have the experience to know from years ago. It's a bit of a story. Hopefully I don't take real long to tell it, but I have a daughter who is, man, I can't even do birthday math in my head. My middle child, in her late 20s now, and all this brain fog of mine that I'm going, oh, how old is my child? That's just ridiculous, but that's how bad the brain fog is, that I just don't know real things that any normal human being would know. Sometimes I'll have a moment that I don't know it. Anyway, my middle child was about, I think, 7 when this started happening, might have been 8. She just suddenly started having just incredible mood swings that seemed exactly like, oh my stars, this child's entering puberty. She was only 7 or 8. It was terrible. And we knew that was not okay for her, even though it's not something we were doing to her on purpose, even though we didn't know it off the bat and had never known before that what would cause that. The effect on children having to go through puberty earlier than they should is as though we have severely abused them. It's a bad thing for them to go through puberty earlier than they should, in my opinion. So we did a little research. This was in the earlier days of the internet. And there was chatter about that the hormones in the animal products, because of the fact that there are hormones given to the animals on the factory farms, that this is very bad and that this could be causing early puberty. And there have been a lot of people who have had this problem within their families of someone going through early puberty. Anyway, we just immediately switched everything up about all that. And we never again wanted to buy any dairy products in the grocery stores, which I do anymore now. Now in the last few years, I have pretty severe health problems of my own and pretty severe budget problems of my own that have nothing to do with the family and life circumstances I was in 20 years ago. But we got out of all that. For years, I had a herd share. Before the herd share, I had been purchasing pet milk from a farmer. But these various sources that I have gotten raw milk from over the years, they were with no hormones, no antibiotics. Some of them were certified organic. All of them were better than anything the organic standard has meant in the last 15 to 20 years. Once the government took it over and started destroying it, all of them were far better than that standard for how well the practices of the farmers would work out for the health and happiness of the animals and the health and happiness of the consumers that would eat the animal products. Anyway, we got meat directly from farmers, we got milk directly from farmers, and I got raw cheeses directly from farmers who made cheese over the years. I think at first it wasn't directly to a local farmer with the cheese. But over the years, that's what it became. And I was very aware that there were a lot of things that changed from that change, not just for her. And I would say that I know that conventional dairy is not something I tolerate well, and that really high quality dairy is something I tolerate either completely or much better. So that's part of what I'm dealing with right now. But I don't have the connections here where I live at the moment, and I don't have much money to deal with the budget, and I don't have much time to deal with all this because I work so much. So after all these years of trying to do the right thing and wishing more people would, now I'm one of the people in that situation that it's just almost impossible to deal with. So it is what it is. People can live with things that are hard. I can live with this for now, but I am going to keep praying for help from God to fix it all. I would like it to all be fixed. Get back to what I want to do and what I think is best to do. So I've been going back and forth on lots of things, including the dairy. Not getting enough sleep most of the time. Tried the fat fasting thing I had been talking about in the last times that I had been making videos, and it's good in a way, and I like it, and then I end up not doing it. So I can't explain that one fully yet. I did eat a tremendous amount of fat this morning. I would say this morning's probably the best I've done in the last few weeks, but the last few days I had been, upping it a little again from a time where it had gotten a little too low again. I'm not generally eating enough fat each day to cause me to sleep as well as I did a couple of the fat fasting days early on. But I'm back and forth dealing just with all my digestive symptoms, and can I do it, and how to do it, and which fat to include and push a lot of, and how much of it to include and push a lot of, and make sure it's not been heated up and it's actually cold fat that I actually do eat raw fat, not straight, but I eat raw ground beef. I think I've mentioned that before, that I eat raw ground beef. Sometimes I'm eating raw ground beef that is 70-30. That at various points in time has been one of the most common things for me to eat. Although recently I've had a lot of cooked brisket, but it has fat that never got liquid in the brisket that I'm eating. Oh, and I had a couple of times we had beef cheek, which I had never had before, and I didn't know that beef cheek was so good, but it was, I forget, $4 a pound, $4.50 a pound. I can't remember exactly. Whatever it was less than most of the beef that I've seen for months and months and months. And I had bought 2 packages of beef cheek, and we cooked it. I just looked up a couple of things about it on the internet, and I had to get my daughter to cook it, and she was very frustrated with me for something that I don't even know how to cook and didn't want to spend a lot of time talking about. But I just said, hey, we can see this much information on the internet, and what we can tell is that this should be cooked low and slow. We should braise it. The first one she made, it was pretty good. It's as good as we usually do for brisket. We're not excellent brisket makers, although I always think of myself as a good cook. I need to get better with some of these meats. I know how to make a million different kinds of foods that I can get rave reviews on, and then sometimes I mess up the brisket, but I don't mess it up so bad compared to sometimes people do, and sometimes it's like you kind of think, how is this such a dry brisket? That's insane. I don't get it really, really bad, but I also don't get it as good as I want that you'd get from some excellent, awesome pit master at the best barbecue place ever. Anyway, we make brisket and we're trying, and sometimes it's really great, and sometimes it's just, well, okay, this is edible still. Whereas the driest from the barbecue chains is not necessarily edible sometimes. But the beef cheek was good. My daughter made it. The first one she made was good enough, like our brisket is usually at least good enough. And it was extremely flavorful. We really enjoyed that part of it. And then she made the second one, and it was... The second beef cheek she made was fantastic. It was just like, whoa, maybe she's becoming a pit master. Maybe she'll be worthy of that distinction soon. That beef cheek was really good. So I'm going to keep my eyes out, and if it shows up again that's something for sale, I'll get it again. That's actually only once in my life I've ever seen beef cheek in a grocery store is the day I bought those 2. So I don't know if I'll ever be able to get it again. So anyway, dairy, talked about the beef cheek, talked about the fat fasting versus full fat versus high fat versus whatever, and my sleep problems. There's a million things like that I could babble for hours about, but it just all adds up to what I said at the beginning. There's really not a lot that's worth updating, and a lot of it is a lot of going back and forth. So I'll just say I am taking liquid vitamin D supplements, vitamin D3. I'm taking, vitamin C, maybe that's worth saying. I've got a big bulk buffered powder vitamin C things, like over 2 pounds of vitamin C in the package. I like to keep bulk powdered vitamin C in my house because it's good to add to water in the bathtub to instantly neutralize or get rid of or whatever for the chloramines, chloride, I'm saying it chloride, chlorine, and I think chloramines is one of the words for one of the things that you get out of some well water and out of tap water for sure. We have well water at the trailer. They literally add chlorine to it because of this, one of the stupid things that goes on in the world, that we have these old trailers and they're all out for rent in this super cheapy situation to live in, and then people get rust stains in sinks and toilets from the water, from the very old plumbing, and they don't like that. And now you can have rust and chlorine bleaching your water, and people can be happy being poisoned rather than living with the stains. So lots of things like that we do weird in our own minds, in our own lives, and in society in general. This one's not my choice. I would never do this to myself, but at least if I want to soak in the tub, I can do it, or I've added a tiny scoop of vitamin C powder to it and get less of soaking chlorine in through my skin while I'm doing it. I think just taking a hot bath is a great luxury in life, and I love it. But before going off on that tangent about soaking in the bath with it, I like to keep that in the house. I do have a big package of it right now that I had purchased not too long ago, and I've started experimenting with me taking vitamin C. I've heard a few, super rare category of people apparently, but a few people who, even on a ketovore or carnivore diet, do need vitamin C. Most people don't, apparently. It's not that I'm disputing this idea that most people don't, but I thought it is possible that a few people do. It's possible that I'm in this stupid rare category, that I'm kind of tired of being the exception to everything. But anyway, I'm going to try it. And I have some clues that I think it is doing me some good. And sometimes me and my daughter both have been taking some kind of stupid high doses, I want to describe it as. People just generally don't take that much of vitamin C. Anywhere from 2 to 4 grams of vitamin C a day. And like I said, I'm getting some clues that it's actually helping and good. So maybe I'm reading that right. Sometimes you're better off to go more long-term experimenting in your own N=1 experiment to try to figure out what works for you and what doesn't. And is the thing you're attributing some new change to really what was causing that change, or at least a contributing factor to that change? So we'll see. But as per my lifelong thing, back and forth on both insomnia, digestive issues, sinus and sort of like allergy symptom issues, etc. I would appreciate it if all of y'all would be praying for us that God will move us out of the trailer. To be honest, one of the weird things, because I just have this kind of mind that I'm a dreamer and I think big picture, and I always have huge, big plans all the time going in my head of a million things I'd love to do and how would I do them. Sort of have developed a plan. I don't know if it's just over recent months or if it's over a few years because of the memory thing. I'm trying to remember how this is developed, but a plan for a nonprofit I'd like to start. I have a pretty good idea of the mission statement, sort of goals or missions type things about it. Can't say that right now, but I haven't written a mission statement for it because it is a little bit more complex than the most simple ones where you just say, boom, this is our mission. It's got a little bit of a few angles to it, but anyway, I have a name picked out for it. My nonprofit's already named. Well, don't even have enough funding to buy myself a safe place to live, much less start a nonprofit. But I am literally asking God to make this happen someday. It doesn't have to be mine. I don't have to be the one in control of it. If God would develop this and have someone else be the one that's running it, the fact that it existed would be an awesome thing in my mind. But my nonprofit now is called the After the Ark Foundation, based on some ideas about epigenetics and the societal problems that are being negatively affected by epigenetic problems, and also based partly on the idea that some diets may be extremely good for helping to reverse some of the downhill epigenetic problems our society is happening. And I suspect carnivore is worth looking at for that. Obviously, I'm trying carnivore. One I've done in the past that I think is an excellent diet that people might want to try is the GAPS diet. I would love to develop, at the very least, that I've helped people through a foundation like that. I would like to be helped through a foundation like that. And I would like also, if we can go one step above the very least, but just barely, if it could be collecting data over the years. And I don't know, maybe, I mean, at the least it can be getting anecdotal stories that could help someone else later to develop a hypothesis to study someday. Nutritional studies are so difficult and so likely to always have confounding variables, and they're never going to be controlled enough. So I don't know how high quality the evidence could be. That's something that I've been thinking through, and it keeps coming back in my mind a lot over time to wonder, do it this way, do it that way, consider like this is worth something to know what happened, even if all I end up with is anecdotal stories of at least here's all the case studies. Case studies have a place in the world. But anyway, that's me here, up and down, up and down, up and down. Now that I've said up and down a million times in this video. And dreaming, always dreaming. Normal part of my life, I'm dreaming, and I am planning the After the Ark Foundation while I pray for God to just move us out of the trailer. I hope everybody out there is doing well. God bless each and every one of you. And I may have more videos quickly, or I may take a long time, as long as it took from the last one to this one. But I hope you all have a great day. God bless you.